Good morning and good day to everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on embedding transparency practices on NDC3 for the countries of Eurasia, Central Asia and Caucasus, and the Middle East and North Africa. At the beginning, just please note that this event will be recorded and all materials will be available shortly after the event. The webinar will last approximately 2.5 hours and will be conducted in English with translations available in Russian and Arabic. So you just can click preferred language. You see small button on the bottom of your screen, like small globe. So just click and select the language that you need. So this webinar, which is organized by CIVIT GSP, comes at the critical time as all parties are expected to submit their updated commitments in 2025. With the recent deadline for submission of the first BTR now passed, today's discussion will explore the linkages between these processes and how transparency is supporting the increase of national and global climate commitments. My name is Slađana Bundalo, and I'm a regional network coordinator for Eurasia within the CIVIT GSP. And together with my colleagues Freya, Keltum, and Nelia, I will be moderating today's event. We are very pleased to have highly competent speakers today, including representatives from UNFCCC, who will explain how transparency aligns with NDC3. In the next session, countries representatives from Eurasia, MENA, and Central Asia and Caucasus will share their experiences in embedding transparency in their NDCs. And finally, our transparency partners, such as NDC partnerships, ICAT, and UNDP Climate Promise Initiative, will inform us about opportunities for support in NDC3 development. Of course, between the sessions, we will have a question and answer time sufficient for you all your questions, but you can also write your question in the chat box, so we will be happy to answer. Before we begin with the official agenda, I would like to ask you to turn on your cameras for a joint photo of this event. So please turn on your cameras. Just a second. Okay. One more. Okay, so thank you so much. Now I will hand over to my colleague Freya to introduce our first speaker. So Freya, over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you may be. And thank you again, Slađana, for those opening remarks, and thank you to everyone for joining today's session. So obviously, as Slađana stated, we obviously know that there are these direct links between the content of a country's NDC and the overall transparency process under the ETF. So in this first session today, we're going to be providing a representative from UNFCCC. Jigme is going to be providing some background information covering the general aspects and kind of the overall highlights of aligning transparency, climate transparency with NDC 3.0, which many of your countries will be working on and looking to submit this year. So as Sljana said, this will be followed by a Q&A session after Jigme is presented. So I'll hand over to you now, Jigme. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Freya, and greetings to everyone. Good to see a number of familiar names here. I trust that you had an excellent start to the new year, and we look again forward to working with all of you in coming months. It's good that we are having this conversation, although timing-wise, I feel that we should
في هذا الوقت
this kind of conversation few months
كان يفترض أن يكون لدينا هذا النقاش قبل بضعة أشهر.
As indicated earlier by Sljana, we are in fact at the cusp of the timeline. The deadline for submission of BTR has already passed, and we do have a number of countries that are yet to submit. So I would strongly encourage you to do so if you have not submitted your BTR yet, because for a number of reasons, it's quite important politically as well as nationally. This work on BTR has a lot to offer. And at the same time, now there is this work on next generation of NDC, which again is awfully important. To me, in my view, this NDCs do not exist in silo, but rather, to me, these NDCs are integral part of national development planning process. And there is strong linkage between BTR and NDC, and I'm happy to share here today our perspective of how we see
буду счастлив поделиться
between these two
с вами своим видением связи между BTR и
if we zoom out and look at the whole of this whole spectrum of Paris Agreement, there are, I would say, a couple of blocks here. One block being on action side, which includes much needed support for developing countries. And then when you talk of action, we're talking of actions to limit emissions, actions to increase resilience, and both should be taken forward in a manner that really contributes to the sustainable development of the country. Because at the end of the day, any action that is not aligned with sustainable development, national development goals and priorities will not be sustainable. And at the same time, we cannot also ignore this role, critical value of means of implementation, in particular support in terms of financial resources, support in terms of technology transfer and development, and support in terms of capacity building. And then the next block, what I call it informally as a block about reflection, making sense of what is really happening, what is really working, what is not working, and hence something that needs to be improved. And that platform is provided by enhanced transparency framework, but at the individual level. And then after that, there is also this exercise of reflection at the global level, collectively as countries together, coming together to make sense of how each one's efforts contribute to global action, and then reconcile with what is coming out of science, and that then gives us sense of how far, how are we faring against the cumulative actions that is needed as per science for us to limit the global temperature increase to 1.5 degree, as well as enhance the resiliency efforts, so that recognizing that even if we are able to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees, the world will continue to see immense degree of impacts. And then based on the outcomes of reflection, making sense of things happening at the individual country level, at the global level, then should inform next generation of this thing. So that is the kind of broad linkage that we see. Again, when we talk of preparing biennial transparency report, as you all very well know, it is all about getting clear sense of which sectors and gases are the problematic ones, or which sectors are doing really well, or where mitigation potentials exist, and how one can harvest those potentials in a way that contributes to the national development as well. And then it is also about making sense of clarity on the implementation of NDCs. And here it is all about making sense of what is really working well with your current NDC, what are the areas of improvement, and how those improvements could be brought in with the ultimate goal of enhancing your ambition, your effort in your next round. And similarly, those who decide to include adaptation information in BTR, my expectation is that as you do that exercise, you will get clarity of the impacts your country is facing, which sectors, which community, which part of the society, which part of economy are more susceptible than others, and what kind of adaptation actions can be implemented to minimize those impacts to extent possible. And finally, BTR has also space to have information on support, and here again it is about getting clarity on what kind of support is coming into the country, where is that support going, and how that support that is coming in is making a difference, and whether those support that is coming in are addressing the actual needs. And at the same time, through this exercise, it gives opportunity for you as a country to get sense of the actions that you are implementing or you plan to implement. What are the challenges, needs associated with that, and if you get additional support, what kind of additional steps you can give. All of this, I'm highlighting all of. As all of you very well know all of this, since you are much more involved in the actual work of preparing BTR than us here in Bonn. But I think the message here is that all of this information, the information, the intelligence you get from BTR exercise should become part of your part of the exercise for next NDC, because your next NDC, the NDC 3.0, has to be based on the progress of implementation of the existing NDC that is registered in the state, because this, although we have this,
Поскольку, несмотря на то, что у нас есть различные раунды переговоров в рамках ОНУФ, для меня определение различных доноров NDC — это больше политическое такое упражнение, поскольку с технической точки зрения все эти ОНУФы, NDC, я их вижу как процесс внутристрановой, который это расширение единой линии, каждый год увеличение дополнительного периода внедрения этих ОНУФ. Есть еще несколько слайдов, и я хотел бы немного более глубоко погрузиться в техническую сторону.
BTR and national communication.
هناك مجموعة من النقاط الخاصة بالالتزامات المحددة وطنيا للاستعداد والتجهيز للالتزامات المحددة وطنيا. يفترض على الدول أن تتبع بعض القواعد الإرشادية وأن تقدم هذه المعلومات لتسهيل الوضوح والشفافية.
ICTU, this guidance, it was adopted in Katowice as a part of this broader rules book package for transparency for Paris Agreement. Now, as per the ICTU, the NDC communication should include the following. Firstly, it should have quantifiable information on reference point, and that reference point would include a base year if that is something that your NDC is how NDC is formulated. It should also include information on scope and coverage. Looks like I have repeated this first and two bullets twice. This should be different. Scope and coverage, and then thirdly, planning process. Planning process in sense the planning process in place for formulation of your NDC as well as implementation of NDCs. Fourthly, you should also provide information on assumptions and methodological approaches, including assumptions and methods that you have used for estimating and accounting emissions and removals. Fifthly, there is also a space for you to explain how your NDC, how you see your NDC to be fair and ambitious in the light of national circumstances. And this here is a section which really helps you contextualize the targets that you have put in place in the context of your own national circumstances. And finally, there is also space for you to explain how your NDC contributes to the overall objective of convention as set up in its Article 2. So that's the kind of, there are a lot of sub-bullets under each of this, but that's the main, I would say, taglines for what this ICTU entails. And then in preparing, formulating your targets and preparing your NDC, there is a need to follow certain accounting principles, and those are again quite, I would say, broad principles. The first principle which is quite logical and makes sense, would be to ensure that whatever accounting of emissions and removals you do for your targets, for tracking progress of NDCs, are in accordance with methodologies and common metrics that is prepared by IPCC and adopted by the CMA, Conference of Parties. Basically, that's something that's adopted through the negotiation process. Secondly, second principle is about ensuring that there is a
Второй
methodological
принцип состоит в том,
consistency
что существует методологическая
in
сообразность
all the things that you do. For example,
во всем, что вы делаете.
if you have a baseline
Например, если у вас есть какая-то основа, основной
for the purpose of communicating your NDC, so this, as per this accounting principle, it's recommended that you maintain same baseline for accounting of the implementation. So as you get into implementation, and if you're making assessment of the impacts of implementation, then it's as per this principle, the recommendation is that you maintain same methodology. This thing. Third principle is to strive to include all sectors and gases in your NDC. Again, I believe that this same accounting principle has been reinforced in the COP outcome in Dubai, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. I think it's in Dubai, where now there is encouragement to all parties to ensure that your NDC covers all sectors and gases. I mean, as we know, the current NDCs, some of them covers only partial sectors and gases. And with that, when we do this, especially during the global stock take, then we are not able to get this comprehensive picture of what is happening in terms of emissions. And final principle is to provide explanation of if your NDC excludes certain sector and or gases, then you're being, as per this principle, it is recommended that you provide an explanation of why certain sectors or gases are excluded. Probably it's excluded because there is no, that sector is not relevant or comes into play in your national, as per your national circumstances. That's totally fine. But I think it would be a good practice to indicate that it's not included because it does not exist. And that is also reporting in itself. So that's on the NDC side. And now on other hand, when we talk of BTR, and I'm zooming here on the section on this tracking progress of implementation and achievement of NDCs. So in BTR on NDCs, you are expected to provide information on national circumstances and institutional arrangements, national circumstances that influence your NDC, and NDC implementation and achievement, and institutional arrangements that you have in place for tracking progress of implementation and achievement. Secondly, you need to provide description of your NDC. And here, it's important to ensure that the description you provide in BTR is consistent with your NDC that is registered, recorded in NDC registry. Because we need to be mindful of this fact that this section in BTR is about tracking progress of implementation and achievement of NDC that is recorded in the NDC registry. Third one, information necessary to track progress made in implementing and achieving your NDC. And then fourth one is information on policies and measures that support your NDC. Fifth one is summary of greenhouse gas inventory, greenhouse gas emissions and removals. And again, that has to be consistent with the national inventory that you would submit. And finally, projections of greenhouse gas emissions and removals. There is also space for other information. I have looked at, I must admit that I didn't look at all the BTRs that are submitted yet, but I have looked at some, and in those BTRs that I have looked at, I didn't see any of them report this, include this section G. But this is something that is at your disposal in the event you feel that you need to include information that does not fall under any of the other headings listed here. So now we have these two sets of guidance. Guidance to prepare, one to prepare your NDC and communicate NDC, and second one to prepare and submit your BTR. So how does this two link? And this is a quick, I would say, mapping exercise just top of my head, just to help us visualize technically how these two processes or by substance link together. So quantifiable information on reference point, including base year, that would have direct connection to BTR, in particular on description of your NDC and information necessary to track progress. Because in both cases, you'll need to information on baseline reference point is a key information. Similarly, on time frame and or period for implementation, that again is essential component of description of NDC. That is also key information for assessing the progress, because when you talk of progress, there are a couple of reference points. First is, reference point for your target, which is, the reference point for the effort, level of effort. But then that exercise has to be taken in conjunction with the time frame that comes into play. And also, this time frame is also very relevant for the projections. Although we know that unless your emissions are targets are defined as a business as usual, from deviation from business as usual, projections is not supposed to be used for the purpose of assessing the progress. But nonetheless, this is one information that should be included in BTR, recognizing that there are a couple of flexibilities accorded to developing countries in the light of capacity on this particular area. Scope and coverage, that again has linked to a number of sections of BTR. So I don't want to go through each and every point here. I will share this slide to you, and I'll share this slide deck to the organizers so that they can make this available to you for your reference. But the key message here is, both at the broader level as well as at the technical level, these two streams of work are so interlinked that it would be a big missed opportunity if there is no mechanism to bring these two together nationally. At a minimum, I mean, in an ideal scenario, it would be much more efficient, cost-effective, and it would even, ensure internal coherency if the work on NDC and work on BTR are part of that same big package, so that there is a single team dealing with it. But I know that in reality, it does not always work like that because of sectoral ministerial mandates, because of different how the government structures are in place. This does not work for all. So, but that is fine. I think the important this thing is, even if there are two separate teams working on this, there has to be strong communication, feedback from one to the other, so that firstly there is no competing parallel work happening at the same time. Secondly, if there are two parallel competing work, the likelihood of having incoherent information come out is quite high, and if that happens, then it's not going to help anyone. And finally, as we can see, there are a lot of areas where one can feed into other, and it's not just one way. It can go in both ways. And my sincere hope and encouragement to all of you is to look for synergies to extent possible and capitalize on those available synergies, because I think that will help in reducing your effort, reducing workload, saving resources, and most importantly, any information that that comes out from these two different sets of documents will be internally consistent, coherent, and that to me is the biggest advantage. So with that, let me stop here, and I'm happy to take any easy questions.
Thank you so much for that, Jigme. I think it was a really, I know you said you kept it high level, but I think it was really in depth, and I think you've covered some really important topics. So yeah, if there's any, we now have some time for some questions relating to Jigme's presentation. So feel free to use the Q&A function, or also raise your hand and you can ask a question to Jigme directly. But so far, I'm not seeing. You were just so thorough, Jigme, that they don't have any questions.
Or it could mean that it didn't make any sense at all.
No, it never means that. It never means that. Of course, as well, Jigme will be sharing these slides with everyone who's attended. So I'm sure if you also have questions after you've had the time to go through these slides in your own time, feel free to ask these questions to us all over email or through the platform as well. But since at the moment I don't see any hands or questions in the Q&A, I think I'll thank Jigme very much for the wonderful presentation, and I'll be handing over to my colleague Keltoum, who she's going to be moderating the next session on countries' experiences from the MENA region. So over to you, Keltoum.
Thank you very much, Freya. Thank you, colleagues. And first of all, I would like to thank Nailia and Slajana and you, Freya, and all the speakers for for being able to join us today and for organizing this very important event. So from the Middle East and North Africa, we are welcoming two countries, Lebanon and Morocco. So thank you very much to Leah Kay. She is the project manager of BTR and CBIT and a large portfolio in the Ministry of Environment in Lebanon and the country office, UNDP country office. So thank you very much for joining, and thank you for accepting every time sharing your experience with us. And I would like also to welcome Rashid Tahiri. He's the head of Climate Change Division in the Department of Sustainable Development. So in this session on experience sharing and lessons learned from BTR and how this could be useful for NDC 3.0 preparation process, we would like to highlight 5 points. The first point is about strategies that each country adopted to ensure the timely submission of NDC 3.0 and what is the current status of NDC 3.0 preparation in these countries. Has also the BTR helped these countries to address data gaps and methodological challenges in finalizing NDC 3.0? And if the answer is yes, how? And the third point is about incorporating lessons learned from the BTR preparation process into the development of NDC 3.0. And of course, one of the most important ones is as per Paris agreements, each successive NDC shall present a progression from the previous one. So how these countries are addressing this point. And we will conclude with institutional arrangements used for BTR preparation, how they are actually supporting the NDC process or NDC 3.0
в 3.0 и, пожалуйста,
أسيدات أولا لهذا اسمحوا لي أن أدعو ليا للحديث الآن.
Good morning everyone. Thank you, Kulthum, for the introduction. It's always a pleasure to me to be amongst such a nice panel and nice speakers, and thank you for the opportunity also to share our very modest, I would say, experience in BTR and NDCs. I will share my screen. This there. Can you confirm that you're seeing my screen? Yes, great. Yes. So I will try to be very brief in terms of what we have learned. So Lebanon presented 4 national communications, 4 BURs, and 1 BTR, all on time. And we submitted the first NDC, so the INDC in 2015, the updated one in 2021. And we are currently preparing NDC 3.0. We just presented a proposal to the GCF to get funding for NDC 3.0. One of the main, I think, success factors, and Jigme put his finger on it. One of the main success factors of us being able to maintain a specific frequency of reporting and improving our reporting is that we are the same team that prepares national communications, BURs, BTRs, and NDC. So the connection is already in our head, and we do also implement a lot of other projects. So synergies are really embedded in the work that we do on a daily basis to make sure that we build bridges between projects, that we don't duplicate, and that the results or the output of one project becomes the input of another project. And second, that is also a second point that is very, very important, is that we try to train the staff at the ministry and us, I mean the small staff that prepares BTRs and NDC, we go through the review process and we are reviewers. And reviewing BTRs definitely and BURs makes it easier to do good BURs and good BTR. In terms of, what strategies do we have to ensure the submission of the NDC 3.0? What is the current status of preparation? We are late already. We still did not receive the fund from GCF. We still did not start, if you want, officially work on NDC 3.0, but unofficially, we're everywhere. We're launching the conversation to be able to present the NDC on time in 2025. So the first thing, we're building on NDC 2.0. So I think we have a good NDC. So we're running around the country, meeting with decision makers to evaluate, if you want, NDC 2.0. Do you like the previous target? Do you like the way adaptation was formulated, the guiding principles, the priorities? You think that your sector is well reflected? So a very informal evaluation of how NDC 2.0 was and how do you want to keep from NDC 2.0 and what do you want to change in NDC 2.0. Then definitely the results of the BTR are leading the way ahead, especially that first, we still have the same major sources, so energy and transport are still the big emitters. So we do realize that the new NDC 3.0 will also focus specifically on energy, on the energy sector. However, we have a decrease, a fantastic decrease from 2019 because of the economic crisis, because of COVID. And this is something that is raising eyebrows, right, at the national level, because if you compare it to the unconditional, to the business as usual scenario, and conditional and unconditional scenario, the BTR showed that we are on track. But actually, these are very peculiar circumstances. This is not because we did any mitigation measures. This is not because Lebanon implemented NDC measures. It's just a byproduct of the economic crisis. And we're trying as much as possible to be explicit about this for the international community, saying that we still need support to mitigate, for the national community to say that don't be happy, there's still a lot of work to do, plus setting expectations that now hostilities and war ended in Lebanon, so we expect that during the reconstruction and recovery phase, emissions will increase again. So this green curve, this green trend will increase again, and the objective is that it should increase in a way that is parallel to the unconditional or conditional scenarios. So definitely the BTR exercise, the NDC tracking exercise gave us a very clear indication on how we should reformulate our targets in the upcoming period, and how and if we need to reconsider our BAU scenario or not. And this is a big question that is now still unanswered. The main lessons learned from the BTR, other than the NDC tracking exercise, is how to formulate NDC targets. It was, and I think this is, I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of people like us that were filling these tables in the BTR. Targets that we had put in the BTR were so vague and so unspecific that it was very difficult to track them. Specifically adaptation. I know that we're not really specifically reporting our tracking the progress of adaptation, but for example, when we were trying to put indicators, an old target in the NDC was strengthen agricultural resilience to enhance Lebanon's agriculture, right, in a climate smart manner. And then we started asking ourselves how to measure the strengthened impact. What are the priorities to agricultural output? I mean, agricultural output can include 100 crops. What is a climate smart manner? So what we learned from the BTR is to be more specific in the new target or activities in NDC 3.0. An example is, instead of putting this, very general target, now we're reformulating it. restore the livelihood and productive capacity. So this is your strengthening part of who? Farmer and producers. How? Through climate, through restoring and deploying climate-smart infrastructure with a very specific definition of what do we mean by climate-smart infrastructure. Increase agricultural production. How? By providing incentives. So this is a small example just to let you know that the BTI exercise highlighted gaps and unspecificities of targets that are helping us now in shaping them better in NDC 3.0. Also, the same for mitigation targets. This table was so difficult to fill because of all, the questions that you don't have before. Do we compare our current emissions to the BAU scenario or to the unconditional scenario? Do we report them in terms of, let's say, percent decrease or gigawatt hour if I have a percentage of for example, solar energy, or in CO2 equivalent? And we went back and forth, and Kulthum was witnessing all these discussions in terms of what do we report and in which unit and compared to what. So this is also a conversation that we are having today, so that we explicitly, or if you want, we tailor the targets in a way that can be easily reported with no ambiguity in the next cycle. What we also learned, not only from the BTR, but from the CBIT, is the institutional arrangement. Under CBIT, we designed very good institutional arrangements with having specific task forces that would agree on indicators, track indicators, put them in MISCAL, which is a management information system, database, digitalized, and then the Climate Change Secretariat at the Ministry of Environment would take all this data, calculate them, formulate them, and bring them to the NDC committee to approve and to validate. And this is something that we will be using during 2025 to speed up the process and arrive to the NDC committee on time to develop the NDC 3.0. And these task forces will not only be responsible for tracking NDC progress, but also to provide technical insights on whether the proposed targets and the proposed activities make sense and are agreed. And by the way, the task forces are composed of not just decision makers and government employees, which is the case of the NDC committee, but it's really the community of practice, people, academicians, expert people involved in sectoral, in specific sectors who have the capacity to guide the formulation of the NDC in an informal manner. So this is the MISCAL that I was telling you about. So the fact that now we have an online system to collect information will definitely facilitate the NDC preparation, but also the tracking for BTR2, which is which is like in 2026. So hoping to be able to report it on time. Third strategies that we are also building on is the NAP-GCF project. And so we are benefiting from already existing projects to start activities, GCF and BTR, by the way, to start a little bit producing text for NDC 3.0. Example, I'm using BTR project to launch the GHG projection exercise so that at least I have some projections, at least I have a conversation on BAU scenarios, so that I can feed into NDC 3.0 in case we did not receive the funding from GCF on time. I'm also using the preparation of the NAP and climate change strategy to prepare my adaptation section in the NDC. The priorities, the activities, the climate enablers. I'm also using the BTR project to launch the assessment of loss and damage so that I have at least an indication of how loss and damage will be captured in NDC 3.0. So using other projects to start activities that can feed into my NDC. Why? Because I have the same data needs. I'm consulting the same stakeholders. They are the same sectors. They have different timelines, but we can definitely
Работы с этими теми же секторами, у каждого из них свои временные сроки.
deadlines one over the other.
بعضهم البعض.
And so finally,
وأخيرا فيما يتعلق بإطلاق الأنشطة الجديدة، نحن بالفعل نقوم بذلك. قد يسأل أحدهم إذا كنتم بالفعل تقومون بالتوقعات والتكيف والتخفيف وما إلى ذلك، فلماذا تحتاجون إلى تمويل من GEF؟ نحن نحاول أن نطلق أنشطة جديدة ل NDCs 3.0، وإذا لم نقم بإعداد المستهدفات والتوقعات فإن بوسعنا استخدام التمويل لتحسين أو تطوير استراتيجية مالية واستثمارية واستراتيجية
architecture. Let's involve the private sector. Let's add instead of duplicate. And this is today our strategy to make sure that we will be submitting an NDC in 2025. Finally, we are building on the low emission development strategy results, which will be published, I think, in 2025. Although if you want, the vision is 2050, but you know, we're working on the same trajectory. And if we cut it at 2035, I think we're going to have like interesting results and an interesting economic analysis of what Lebanon's new NDC can look like. Will we have more ambition? We will try, and this is a very important question that is being now addressed at the national level. We have a new government, I think 2-week-old government. So we're really waiting for the new vision, the new strategy, how we can align with the government strategy of recovery and reconstruction. We do have time challenges because 2025 and August is around the corner. So I'm not sure how politically this can be endorsed on time. And given the national circumstances, we do have a lot of unanswered questions that would inform us if we will be submitting a more ambitious NDC. What do we do with the BAU scenario? How will BAU be developed in the near future? What new risks should be taken into account? And how really to capture the conflict and damage that we are suffering from the hostility during the last year in our upcoming NDC. Thank you very much. This is our strategy, and hopefully Kulthum will be able to abide by the deadline and not disappoint you and present an NDC in 2025. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leah. Thank you. That was perfect, actually. Thank you very much for linking everything, for linking NDC with LT-LEDs, with the low emission development strategy, and also with providing some answers to other gaps and methodological approaches via the NDC preparation. And I would like also to highlight one point is that the NDC 3.0 preparation is also helping Lebanon in preparing projections for the second BTR. So it's a very good approach. This is why I'm choosing Lebanon every time. So thank you very much, Leah, for being with us. I would like to open the floor for your questions and comments. The floor is open, and also for all participants, translation is available in Arabic, English, and Russian. So please use the language that you prefer. I'm gonna speak a little bit in Arabic. So إذا بالنسبة للمشاركين من منطقة الشرق الأوسط وشمال
participants from the MENA region,
يمكنكم التحدث باللغة التي
you can choose to speak in
Я буду говорить сейчас на арабском языке.
English and Russian.
إذا 3 لغات متاحة، فمن فضلكم يعني تقدموا
Pose your
بأسئلتكم
questions or comments in the language that you prefer.
We have one question. عندنا أول سؤال من مستر سمير طنطاوي.
We have a question
تفضل
from
سمير.
Mr. Samir Tantawi.
سمير مستر سمير تفضل.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank
Please
you,
go
Leah,
ahead.
for this great presentation. You are doing great efforts as usual. I have two short questions. I already stated my questions in the Q&A box. The first one is about this great emission reduction. Are you planning to benefit from these emission reductions, for example, through carbon markets or something like that? And the second question is related to the new NDC. Are you planning to adjust your baseline based on the current very low emission? This is important because somehow we may benefit from this experience. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Samir.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead,
Samir. Great to see you. We worked with Samir, I think SNC Samir, right? So 20 years, maybe 15 years, working in parallel with colleagues on this, and we always face the same problem. So your questions are very difficult, Samir, because unfortunately I do not have answers. For revising the BAU scenario, it's a very difficult question because not just a lot of parameters changed today, but the future looks very also uncertain. How much will we grow in terms of GDP? How will the population grow? Will we still have the refugees or not? What will be our new energy mix? There is so many, I would say, regional geopolitical conditions that we are not, that we don't have control over, that can drive your baseline or your BAU emissions in a way or in a completely different way. But the good thing is that I don't have to take such a decision. This is going to be, such a decision should be made with the stakeholders, with the decision makers, with the government, in line with the vision of the government. And maybe it will decrease a little bit. Maybe we will just keep it as is. We still don't know, but I think the conversation will have to start as soon as possible to be able to know. And I think also we will keep our eyes and ears open for other countries around the world to see what are they doing. What will Egypt be doing? What will Jordan be doing? What will Turkey be doing? Because, you know, a lot of also the countries in the region had also a big economic crisis with inflation, and we will be doing. I think we will be inspired by the experiences of other parties under the convention. As for the unintended emission reduction, if we will use it in carbon markets, no. I mean, this was a very direct cause of energy shortage, the shutdown of 2 big power plants here, cement production decreased by 75%. So it's not really mitigation action, Samir, to be able to sell it in the carbon market. And we are aware of this, and we are not pretending, and we do not want to pretend that, you know, we did great, and we did not associate the measures to mitigation measures. We removed subsidies on fossil fuel. Yes, this drove emission reduction. Yes, but this was not from a climate change perspective or from a mitigation point of view. This was really a measure to cut down on the economic crisis and fix the national budget. So no, we will not be using them in carbon markets, and we do not want to pretend that these were emission reduction initiatives. And we really want, as I said, to send a political message that we still need support. We still need technical support and funding to be able to do more, but it's a very positive indication that we can do it. If it happened between 2019 and 2022, it means we can do it and we can meet our target. So let's learn from it what worked, but let's also be very pragmatic on how we will proceed.
Thank you very much, Leah. I think we have 2 other questions, 3 actually, from Rihab Ahmed Hassan. Rihab, تفضلي. Rihab, she's from Egypt, I guess.
Hello.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you, Kulthum. By the way, I'm from Sudan, but currently I'm based in Egypt. And thank you, Leah, for your insightful presentation, and also congratulations, Lebanon, for submitting your first BTR. I just wanted to know whether Lebanon managed to submit, along with the BTR, the common tabular format for tracking the progress of the NDCs, and if yes, I would be appreciated if you tell us about your experience on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rihab. Great to hear you. Yes, definitely we did. We submitted CRT, CTF, NIR. For the first time, we did submit our first NIR. It was very difficult, but the trainings that we went through, the intensive trainings that we started participating in, I think 2 years or 3 years, helped a lot. PATPA, CBGSP with Kulthum, all the UNFCCC-led trainings on the ETF, online, in person, we really did not miss any. And during these trainings, I remember I used to take my data and start feeling and start experiencing and really hands-on training with my real data, so that I have a feel of what is it like and how to complete it. Weirdly enough, the difficult part was with the new IPCC inventory and not the CRT and TTF tables. The new IPCC inventory with a problem in migrating some of the sectors, and you have, for example, LULUCF and waste that we could not migrate, so you had to enter them one by one. This was a nightmare. But CTF and CRT will definitely, with the help of CBGSP, with Musa, Kulthum, Fernando, we had like clinique sessions with them. Specific questions. I opened my Excel, asked questions. This was very helpful to submit on time. Is it correct what I submitted? I don't know. We have the ICA, the new ICA, and we will know if what we reported was correct or not, and we will learn.
It is a very good example, your BTR, Leah. Don't worry about that. So we have 2 interventions. I think Ghait from Iraq and Saeed Samri from Oman. Please go ahead. We will take Ghait first and then Saeed, and then we answer because of time. So we need to move to the second session with Morocco. Thank you very much. Ghait, تفضل.
شكرا جزيلا كلثوم تحياتنا لحضرتك.
Thank you very much, Kulthum, and thank you, Mrs. Leah. We appreciate your efforts in this webinar. Regarding EAC, we would like to clarify that we just concluded with the BTR1 and its draft, and God willing, we will have the final review and we'll submit in March according to the deadlines. We tried as much as possible to cover, besides the inventory and the tracking, to cover adaptation and the financial support and technology transfer, plus loss and damage. we try to have a case study on the impact of climate change on the health sector in Iraq. So this was one of the annexes that we have on the BTR regarding Iraq. Honestly, I want to say this opportunity of having you here regarding the ambitions of NDC3. Is it possible for us, for example, in Iraq, NDC2 till 2030 for the ambitions of Iraq? If we are working on NDC3, would the starting of implementation from the end of deadline for the NDC2, or would it be from the date of 2025? This is the question. Which date should we follow? And thank you very much.
شكرا جزيلا غيث.
Thank you very much, Ghait.
ممكن نروح
I think
للسؤال الثاني من عند
we
سعيد
can
وبعدين
now move to the second
نجاوب
question
يعني
from
الأسئلة
Said,
ككل
and then
لأنه
we'll answer
شوي متأخرين في
both
الوقت.
questions because we are a little bit behind.
مستر سعيد تفضل.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم
صوتي
السلام.
واضح؟
Peace be upon you.
واضح جدا.
Peace of
تفضل.
God be upon you.
شكرا يا
Can you
كلثوم.
hear me?
مرحبا
Yes, we
بالجميع.
can hear you.
شكرا
Thank you,
الأخ
Kaltum,
ليا
and welcome everyone.
والأخ راشد.
Thank you, Mrs.
نلتقي مع
Leah
كثير
and
في
Mr. Rashid. We
المؤتمرات
meet them
الأطراف. حياكم
often
الله جميعا.
in the
هو
conferences
ليس السؤال
of COP.
ولكن أنا
This is
أشكر
not a question,
الأخت
but I
ليا.
just want to
يعني
thank
تجربة
Mrs.
جميلة
Leah.
نقلتها
It's a
للجميع.
wonderful example that she shared
يعني
with
وأعجبني
everyone,
حقيقة
and I honestly like
ما ذكرت أن
what she
الحفاظ على
mentioned,
التيم الذي يعمل
preserving the
بجميع التقارير
team
المرتبطة
which works on all the
بالUNFCCC.
efforts of
فهذا
UNFCCC.
التواصل وهذا
Such
البعد
communication
الفهم
and
المطلوب بين هذه
understanding
التقارير
of the requirements for these efforts and interlinkage
اللي تقوده يعني الأخت ليا يعني مهارات وقدرات يعني
gives such skills to the team and empower them, and all Arab states need to benefit from such experience. So, as I said, this is not a question just to applaud this experience, and I hope everyone can benefit from it. The second thing is that in some countries, and this is linked to my remark, when they do the report, they bring consultancy firms that would do the required work in preparing those reports, and there is no build-up of skills and capabilities. But Mrs. Leah, with the team that they have, they had intensive training of 2 years, which empowered them in preparation of such report. So we applaud the Lebanese team, and we hope that everyone can benefit from this experience. And thank you, Mrs. Kaltoum, for choosing Lebanon, and Dr. Rashid, I think will also present something outstanding from Morocco. Thank you very much, Mr. Saeed, and welcome anytime.
شكرا يعني شكرا أستاذ سعيد يعني
Thank you, Mr. Saeed.
بيشرفني وبيبسطني
I am very,
إنه هيدي إذا بدك
I'm feeling humbled, and I appreciate what you said. But I would like to mention that it was really hard for us working on the BTR and everything else. It was like an annual battle that we conduct when we're working on the inventory and the BTR and how to maintain the team. We are fighting continuous battle. We also hire consultants, but it's us who write the report. We would have consultant, for example, for certain details. We do that. So we have national consultants, and if there is a training, you let the team members benefit from the training, and then they can come and work with you. And You could also benefit from experience of foreign experts and want to make sure that it's our team that writes the report from the first page till the last page. And thank you. Thank you. And would like to hear from
over to you.
Rashid from Morocco.
Rashid, could you please be very brief because we are very limited on time.
Do you hear me, Kalsom?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you, Rashid. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and I am very glad to take part of this webinar and in order to share our experience with other colleagues from different countries. So before starting responding to your 5 questions, I prefer to share with our colleagues our national context. Okay, so as all of us know that any country is at shelter. All the countries, all the continents are facing unprecedented challenges, and already we see and we notice we are facing the effects of climate change. For instance, last year it was the hottest year, and Morocco, as other countries, have been affected by floods and also by heat waves. So if we look at our emission in terms of greenhouse gases, our emission is not significant. It's less than 0.2% compared to the global emission, so less than 100 million ton equivalent CO2, or 2.73 ton equivalent per capita. But even if Morocco is aware about the socio-economic and environmental repercussion of this scourge, and Morocco has made a voluntary, integrated and responsible commitment to the global effort to combat climate change, and Morocco is well ranked according to Mena index, and our effort in climate change find its ensuring core in our national strategy of sustainable development. Morocco has a good experience in terms of the reporting, so we have submitted 5 financial communication, 3 BUR, and recently in December we have submitted our first BTR. Our ambition has progressively strengthened. For instance, in 2015, our NDC, we have a target 32% by 2030. 1 year after, in June 2016, our first NDC has a target 42% by 2030, and in 2021 we have submitted the NDC 2.0, and with an ambitious target is 45.5% by 2030. And Morocco has submitted its national strategy for low carbon, long-term, low emission development strategy. We have submitted qualitative parts, but also we have submitted, or we have developed, and my minister presented in Dubai our strategy, the quantitative parts. So and we envisage to reach the neutrality in 2050. Just a brief comment regarding our NDC, the current one. So our NDC is multidimensional because it goes hand in hand with the SDGs, with our process regarding the advantage regionalization. Also, it took into consideration the human rights and gender equality, beside the synergy with other conventions. So our NDC of 2021, as I mentioned, we have a target 45.5%, with a portfolio of projects, 61, 34 are unconditional and 27 are conditional. But the budget is very important, so almost $38.8 billion. Also, as mentioned by Leah, so in 2030, we envisage to reduce 64 megaton equivalent CO2. So in reference by 2030, business as usual. Our NDC covers 7 sectors, but we found that electricity production and industry, which contributes more in terms of mitigation. Also, our NDC contain the adaptation part, so we cover 8 sectors, but in this NDC, unfortunately, we don't have a portfolio of projects, but just targets at 2030, 2040, and 2050. So yes, Morocco has succeeded in his process in terms of establishing his first BTR. We submitted in December and the time, and as requested by UNFCCC by decision. So we have developed the national inventory report. So we have calculated our emission in 2020, 2021, 2022, but also we calculate the previous inventories. Also, our BTR containing the progress or tracking of the progress of NDC, the impacts of climate change and adaptation, as well as the support required and received. Morocco was very proactive in terms of the transparency, so I don't think that many countries has set up a kind of online platform to track the NDC. So Morocco has done that. So our platform online track the emissions, track the action in terms of mitigation and adaptation, as well as the support received. Also, Morocco in 2015, 2017, we have developed a national greenhouse gas inventory system in order to have a sustainable and reliable inventory system, because as mentioned by Leah, is really as a challenge that each year we start collecting data, centralized data, producing inventories. So that in order to face these concerns, we set up this national greenhouse gas inventory system, and we have a robust governance. So we have national inventory units with coordinators, with the sectoral coordinator, as well as inventories of different sectors, beside the National Inventory Commission. So regarding your first question, so which I have 2 questions in the first one. So yes, Morocco is working on NDC 3.0. This process is led by the government, but Morocco is very lucky. We have a good image, and we received a lot of support from our partners, from European Union, from Germany, and also from GIZ. So they support us in developing our NDC 3.0, and they are supporting us in other fields regarding climate change. So we started a little bit early in 2024 in order to take our time to assess the challenges and the priorities for NDC 3.0. Also, we have officially launched the process of NDC 3.0 just a couple of days before submitting the BTR, because it helps all stakeholders to have clear visibility about the progress regarding the mitigation measures, adaptation measures, and also mean of implementation that they should mobilize in order to meet their targets. Also, our NDC or our this process of NDC 2.0 is aligned with the Paris Agreement rulebook. Jim, the colleague from UNFCCC has mentioned that, has developed this part. So we are fully aligned with Paris Agreement rulebook, but also are aligned. We took into consideration the decision of the global stocktake. So regarding the rule books, yes, beside the MPGs,
Итак, в отношении книг, помимо АНУФ, относительно решения об улучшении прозрачности, взаимопонимания и отчетности, наши АНУФ согласуются с требованиями в отношении адаптации. И мы все знаем, что несмотря на прогресс, который был достигнут разными странами в отношении адаптации,
yes, Morocco is aware and is ambitious to contribute to achieve the outcomes of GST. For instance, tripling renewable energy, doubling energy efficiency, also give up the coal. So Morocco envisages that in 2040. Also, regarding the inflation, all of us know that we are facing constraints to attract investment for adaptation. That's why now within UNFCCC process, we are working on metrics and in order to assess the effort to achieve the global goal of adaptation. Regarding the implementation means, as all of us know that unfortunately Baku decision, we are very upset about the NCKG. We are looking for 1,300 billion dollars, but unfortunately we receive just $300 billion. So we are still far from our expectation. But we count also on our private sectors and also on our bilateral or partnership between private and public sectors to meet or to overcome these kind of constraints and obstacles.
Mr. Rashid, sorry to interrupt.
Okay, so
please, could you go directly to lessons learned from Morocco because of the time constraints? Thank you very much.
Just regarding the currency status of NDC, so we will build on the result of BTR. Also, now we are launching a bilateral consultation within all the stakeholders. And also, once we receive a list of projects, then we can define the goal of mitigation, the whole goal, but also by the mitigation potential for each measures, mitigations. The problem of conditionality, because we don't have clear vision about conditionality. So the projects in condition projects, that the government would lead, but not only by the national budget, but also with the budget of private sectors, and also the estimation costs, and also the identification of funding sources. So for the second and the third question regarding the PTR, lesson learned, and so on. So the PTR provided relevant stakeholders with a clear snapshot of the progress of their NDC measures. It also highlights gaps in transparency and also highlighted the areas where we can do more efforts in order to have more availability and quality data. Also, the experience of preparing the BTR has reinforced the importance of early stakeholders commitment, engagements, and cross-sectoral collaboration. The emphasis on transparency in the BTR has also been carried forward to NDC 3.0, and also as we will build on our MRV. Yes, we intend to increase the target of emission reduction, and we will expand the scope of our NDC, because in Morocco we have already 7 sectors, but we can develop more subsectors. For instance, iron, for instance, steel, aluminium, and also the maritime transport and so on. So we can focus more on these area and subsectors. During the NDC 3.0 development phase, so best practices should be put in place to facilitate reporting under the enhanced transparency framework.
Okay.
Regarding I appreciate a lot the question number 4, because it's very important, and I hope that you allow me to share the response of this question with our colleagues. So the Moroccan NDC 3.0 will also be aligned to the national long-term strategy, which sets the trajectory to net zero by 2050. As I mentioned before, NDC 3.0 include expanded coverage of sector and gases, because yes, regarding the gases we cover CO2 methane, but we will cover other gases and subsectors. We will increase emission reduction targets, but there is a huge debate now at national level. So as all of us know, the President of the United States withdrew from the Paris Agreement, and the United States has a huge responsibility. But even if Morocco still committed in the spirit of solidarity, and we will increase our ambitions, especially in the conditional parts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rashid. Thank you very much, and sorry, we are over. Then I think we exceed with 30 minutes for our parts.
Yes,
we will leave the question and answers to the box, so you can just put your questions here. I think now we need to move to the other network from Eurasia. Mr. Rashid, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Спасибо большое. Меня зовут Наиля Тимирханова. Я являюсь региональным координатором по CBIT GSP для стран Центральной Азии.
Regional coordinator for Central Asia and Caucasus.
Есть буквально 25 минут, чтобы мы
We continue our session. We have
продолжили.
25
Я
minutes.
с удовольствием приглашаю коллег из Армении и коллег из
And I'm inviting my colleagues from Armenia and Tajikistan
опытом во внедрении практик по
so
транспарентности.
that they can share their transparency practices.
Уважаемые коллеги, вы уже видели
And DCP3, my dear colleagues,
на своем слайде, поэтому я не буду их повторять, а сразу же перейду к
and so I will not repeat myself, and I will move straight to our presenter from Armenia, Diana. Diana is the head
проектов UNDP по вопросам, связанным с изменением
projects connected to the climate change, and she has big experience on climate accountability and this in particular.
Пожалуйста.
Diana, отпасываю to you.
Можно, наверное, перенести в полный экран, потому что сейчас пока это слайды. Да, отлично.
Yes, that works now.
Thank you for this opportunity. Nice to
Благодарю
see
за эту возможность.
faces of colleagues and
Приятно видеть коллег
friends from secretariat. And
и
just
друзей
as
секретариата.
I see that we have very limited time slot, my presentation is directly answering the questions that Naila shared with us for presentation. So moving to the next slide. Sorry, I don't see if it is. Yeah. So about the status of preparation of NDC in Armenia. In the early 2024, the Ministry of Environment, understanding importance of early start of preparation, applied for support to the NDC partnership. And the request was satisfied, and through the UNDP Climate Promise Project, Armenia received, UNDP office received funds provided from BMZ. So starting from the approval of this project, UNDP initiated development of very comprehensive, very detailed terms of reference, following all these instructions that UNDP has prepared for this cross-checking questions and such type of things related to the content of NDC3, because as not only Armenia, but all countries have to move based on the lessons learned from the previous experience, that NDCs have to have some certain structural identity between countries, but also have to follow, as colleagues also mentioned, the global stocktake requirements and need for increasing ambition, but also increasing the transparency and ownership of the country for any commitments taken under NDC. So all these things was prepared in these terms of reference as we were seeking to select an experienced consultant. And we are lucky that we have consortium of two companies. One is Armenia-based company, and second is from international. So this consortium is now entitled to start this process with very close cooperation and leadership of Ministry of Environment and UNDP. And what is important that this terms of reference was approved by the ministry, that it's comprehensive and it's meeting all the requirements also for synergy with national policies. So from December this year, we started. As Jigme mentioned, we are a bit late. All of our colleagues also mentioned this, but we hope that in 2025, this NDC3 will be prepared and approved. Just to mention that as the first NDC, second NDC in Armenia was approved by the government decree, it means that it was circulated, and so it was because it is whole economy-wide targets are taken, so all key sectors who have their stake in the mitigation policies have to agree with the targets taken. So this NDC3 also will go with the same process, and this is also taking time, because it will be not just Ministry of Environment paper submitted, but it will be governmentally approved. So the question that also was given to all our presenters, it is how the BTR preparation is synchronized with NDCs and supporting and fertilizing the NDC3 preparation. Unfortunately, the GCF funded projects, which is also Armenia is implementing currently, it's delayed, so our BTR is not yet prepared. But it is in the process, and we are fortunate that the inventory part of this BTR1, it's in its final stage, and so this data will be used and will drive the NDC3 preparation, because this is the core part, because this is the picture of time series as showing how the success in different sectors, key sectors, emitters of the or removals of GHG gases are processing, and how the policies are measures are impacting the full the inventory. Is very good picture and very reliable. And it's important that the inventory process, Armenia is improving from one inventory to another, because all the recommendations from the facilitative sharing of views and review of international expert team led by Secretariat is taken into consideration. And most of the methodologies used for inventory are of Tier 2. And another benefit that we have, because for already 4 reporting cycles, we are using a LEAP model, which was built on Armenia energy system. And energy system is around 70% of emissions. And this LEAP model also will be used for the emission scenario building with measures, without measures, and with additional measures. And we also will benefit from long-term low emission development strategy, which was approved yet in 2023, which is giving vector for long-term perspective of the country for the zero emission future in the mid of century. So these are the key reference documents and key transparency frameworks that will be used for NDC preparation. And the important is also to thank to the NDC partnership support program, because we have NDC facilitator who is working closely and preparing the NDC partner support coordination plan, which summarizes all information on policies and project level measures. So, and it is a living results framework, which is showing what is going on in different sectors, just not only from the partnership members who are supporting Armenia. It is international and multilateral banks and the agencies, but also how the government is doing its obligation. And another information that is useful also, that Armenia has applied the public budget tagging exercise and system, and the new budget for 2025 of the government is also analyzed from this perspective, and we know perfectly how much state budget is allocated for 2025 mitigation and adaptation measures. And another beneficial aspects, and I think the colleague has also reported, it is building the transparency framework. This was supported Armenia by the CBIT1 project, and which built regulatory framework and GHG emission preparation structure is established in Armenia, which is Hydrometeorology and Monitoring Center under the ministry, and the BTR1 is also prepared, is under preparation of this center, and UNDP is coordinating and supporting this process. But it's very important that the ownership, as colleagues mentioned from Morocco and Lebanon, is built inside the ministry, who is the authorized agency in the government for the climate change. And what is we are building on the lessons learned from NDC2, and what will be the difference is the one thing is that it will be economy-wide GHG emission reduction target, as it was also in NDC2, but now the setting targets will be done not cumulatively for all, but for each sector, and it will also include non-GHG targets. What is the challenging here is that these targets also have to be monitored and evaluated through the framework with the list of enhanced indicators. We have less number of indicators in NDC2, and here will be developed more indicators, as this was a requirement. And there will be another lesson that with the NDC2, we have separate implementation and financing plan, which was not approved by the government. So as a reference, it was not used, but it is exists, but it's not de jure approved. So this time, this will be integrated in the NDC3 document. And the important thing is that it's already started. Our consultant started with our involvement as well. The broader stakeholder consultations per sectors with the involvement of the ministry, the dedicated agencies or NGOs, academia, and which is also will be very much used in the NDC3 with its policies. Also, it is local communities, because 20 communities in Armenia has joined the Covenant of Mayors, are signatories, and UNDP supported in development of their sustainable energy and climate action plans. So the communities will be enhanced, and there is also governmental program which is supporting the energy efficiency measures through the subvention project on implementation of energy efficiency in communities. So this will be changed compared to NDC2.
Это
And
будет
another
изменение по сравнению с
issue that was also led
САНУФ
by
2.
UNDP, it was mapping exercise
Также мы составляем
between UN all
карту
agencies operating in Armenia.
между разными
And this mapping exercise was
агентствами,
showing
работающими в Армении.
the UN agencies commitment in their sectors that they have stake and professional experience and history, how they are committed to support the NDC3 process in the course, not only planning, but also implementation. And this mapping exercise will be soon shared with the government, and to drive also that the knowledge and cooperation in this upcoming period of the NDC3 preparation. I think I try to be short, and if the saved time will allow me to answer the questions, I am ready maybe to provide more details.
Спасибо большое, Диана. Вы уложились ровно в срок, ровно 10 минут, отведенные на каждого спикера. Спасибо вам большое за ответы.
Managed to speak within 10 minutes. Your presentation was perfect, and your responses were detailed, and the presentation answers all the questions. We have a question from Oleg, but I hope Oleg will do it in the form of questions and answers. He already asked you a question, but he is in the chart that's only visible to the panel participants. I think it will be better if Oleg will ask the question in the panel. In any case, we will answer the questions after the second presenter. And I'm happy to invite Firuz Saidov, who is the leading expert for transparency and climate accountability and transparency and climate adaptation from Tajikistan. Dear Firuz, I will open the slide and you have 10 minutes to present.
Подскажите, пожалуйста, видно ли презентацию?
Да,
Let
видно.
me know if you
Спасибо.
can...
Добрый день всем. Я коротко
Yes,
остановлюсь с учетом того времени, которое
I will
было
be
выделено
brief
в
based
повестке
on the
дня.
time that I was given.
Я хотел остановиться на опыте Таджикистана по
I'd like
внедрению
to
практики прозрачности
share the
3.0.
experience of Tajikistan on the implementation of the transparency in NDC3.
Я хотел бы коротко остановиться
I would
на
like to
текущей ситуации
briefly
подготовки NDC3 в Таджикистане. Но здесь коллеги
relay the
сказали,
situation
хочу отметить,
on
что наша
DCC
страна
in
тоже
Tajikistan.
в декабре
I would like to tell you
2024
that our
года
country in
выставила
December
первый погодительный
2024
доклад
presented
ПТА
its first
в
BTR.
этом. И, ну, этот процесс был очень
This
сложным.
process
Дело в
was
том,
complex
что произошло большое изменение в
because
кадровом составе,
there
при
were
качестве
big
кадров и вот
changes
в
in
рамках
our
проекта и CBIT, ICAD,
staff
регионального экологического
structure.
центра были подготовлены молодые ребята, и вот они
And
в
the
конце
young
декабря
experts are preparing
Комитет
these
охраны
reports, and
окружающей
in the
среды
end of
представили
December,
свой первый
they
ПТА. Я не буду коротко
presented their first
останавливаться, о чем
PTR.
там надо
I
много
will
говорить, какие у
not
нас выбросы. Но у
go
нас
in
средние выбросы на душу населения, здесь сказали,
in
почти
detail.
около 2 тонн. Мы очень
We don't have,
находимся на всего 17 миллионов тонн у нас
we
по
only
сравнению
have
с
17 tons of
выбросов миллионов тонн. Но в настоящее время
GNG.
завершение находится проект разработки
At
национального плана
present,
по адаптации.
we
Почему? Потому
are
что она будет
coming to close of
частью
implementation of the
NDC-3
project
по вопросу адаптации к изменению
of
климата, потому
adaptation
что они
to the
много
climate
сделали,
change,
и матрицу
which will be
подготовили,
part
это
of
будет вклад
NDC3.
в NDC-3.
They prepared the metrics for it,
Исходя из
and
опыта
it will be
подготовки
contribute
поддерживала
towards
техническая
NDC3.
рабочая группа
And
из
there
знакомых
was a
Министерства
technical group, a technical panel,
частного сектора общественных организаций. Но в настоящее время
which
идут
includes
переговоры
the
с
private
ПАО.
sector
ПАО
of the private organizations. At present, we are
по разработке NDC и
cooperating with different
соответственно регионального
organizations on
национального
the
значения. Сейчас
NDC.
эти переговоры ведутся.
Now
Это
we are
комитет
conducting
ветрогенного занимается,
negotiations,
агентство
and the
гидрометеорологии
committee
занимается.
of
Но
the
хотел
organization
бы
of
отметить,
meteorology is
что
working
при
towards
Комитете
it.
охраны окружающей среды создан
I
Центр
would
по
like to know that
реализации
we
NDC
set
2.0,
up a center
задачу
for
которой также
preparing
входит и
NDC
подготовка NDC
3,
3.0. Следующий.
which is to prepare the
Я
NDC.
немножко остановлюсь на опыте NDC2, потому что,
I would like to
может
tell
быть,
you
это
more
будет
about
полезно,
our
потому что мы
experience of
в
preparing
2021
NDC2,
году
because
Таджикистан
in
представил обновленный
2021,
национальный
and
определяемый план
Tajikistan
NDC 2.0,
presented its
который тоже
NDC2,
включал амбициозные
which
цели
also
по сокращению
included the
выброса парниковых
ambitions
газов.
on
И
the
в этом плане опыт
reduction
NDC
of
2.0
the
может перейти
gas exhaust.
в разработку и реализацию NDC 3. Почему?
Within
Потому что в
this
рамках
framework,
NDC
we
2.0
can
мы разработали
start preparing
комитет,
for
как
the
Гидромет, совместно с другим
NDC3,
министерством разработал план реализации
and we
этой NDC2
elaborated
и
the
создан центр
plan
по
of
выполнению.
implementation,
Это
and
при
we
технической
created a
поддержке
panel
ПАО,
for implementation of
разработали
the
индикаторы и количественные, и
NDC2.
качественные, и по митигации, по
We came
адаптации,
up with the
направлены
indicators
во все
for
министерства ведомства,
adaptation and
значит, там
mitigation,
и
and we
система
sent them
мониторинга
to
существует.
different
Вот этот
ministries,
опыт может
and
быть
the
перенесен и
systems of
NDC 3.0.
monitoring were implemented.
Естественно, Таджикистан активно работает над
Tajikistan
привлечением
works
климатического финансирования для
actively
поддержки
on
реализации. В плане
involving
реализации NDC
attracting the
2.0
financial support.
полностью была матрица по
We
привлечению
created a
инвестиций
matrix
как со
for
стороны доноров,
attracting
так и со
investment
стороны
on the
частного
part of
сектора,
donors as well as
и
private
вклада
sector,
правительства по каждому
and the contributions from the
ключевым секторам. И
government
это
for
тоже
each key sector,
поможет для NDC3. Мы
and
проведем
that
еще
should
и
go towards
дальнейший
NDC3
мониторинг
as
и
well.
динамику рассмотрим с
And
учетом новых
we
требований
will consider the
NDC3.
dynamics,
Процесс
taking into
реализации
consideration the
NDC
new
в Таджикистане
requirements of
характеризуется широким
NDC3.
участием различных заинтересованных сторон. Ну, было проведено
We
много
have involved
семинаров,
all the
тренингов,
parties interested in this
кругосволов, в том
process.
числе
We
на централизациonnем уровне по
conducted a lot of
Всемирного банка,
roundtables and
Азиатского
different
банка,
meetings,
регионального
also with the
экологического
Asian Bank,
центра, но
with
по
the
многим
Regional
отраслям, но
Ecological
по
Center.
вопросам
We did a lot
климатического финансирования. И
for
в какой-то мере
climate
для обеспечения
investment
прозрачности
in order to provide for transparency and for setting up a system for monitoring and accountability. The meteorological system developed the metrics for monitoring, and we sent it over to all the ministries, the metrics to up to 2030. And in compliance with NDC3, it should be approved and implemented, and it should be appraised by the decision makers. The metrics were developed on qualitative, quantitative factors, and we plan to improve the conditions in the future. The BTR that I presented in December, it was prepared based on the potential of global warming and the fifth appraisal report, AP5, and the fourth national report. And we also involved the international consultants for the key sectors like agriculture and the energy sector. The data was re-examined, and the statistical data was used instead of suppositions. We adjusted all the data, we corrected all the data, especially in the field of agriculture, and they improved the data in compliance with the international standards. And in preparation of BTR, we used the corrected recommendations, which allowed Tajikistan to appraise the gas exhausts from the agricultural sector in more precisely. We defined it more clearly. The industrial process and the use of produce were used. We used the non-organic products from the fuel.
Я эту материал, информацию получил у них, и они вот такую информацию мне дали. Я просто вам представляю эту информацию, что в БТР-2 уже были проведены какие-то корректировки, но
BTR2, there was some modifications made, but global changes there are few of them. Mostly we improved the system of archivation, the development system, presenting of the information, etc., etc. So we prepared a lot of specialists, so it was training courses for the fourth NDC 3.0 and BTR. What are the measures of concerning the BTR in Tajikistan? So what we estimate for NDC 3.0, first, it's support of development and use of renewables. I would like to mention that Tajikistan, from the policy issues, we have a lot of projects here. We recently approved a green economy strategy for all economy sectors up to 2045 for every type, every sector. The second action is modernization, extension of the central heating network infrastructure in the large cities of the country, so to get away of the gas heating, to reduce the gas heating. Dushanbe at the moment has the central heating system in place. The third action is modernization of electrical network, power network. Most of the agricultural networks were moving towards the billing system of using the energy. We're renewing all the system, installing smart meters, so we have a lot of projects there. And the fourth action of the BTR is prohibition of the import production of inefficient lamps. We resolved this issue. We now building more plants and manufacturing to build some LED energy efficient lamps. Action number 5 is support of electric cars and installing the electric supply for the car. Now in Dushanbe, all the public transportations is electrified, so we have a lot of electric taxi cars, taxi cabs. Tajikistan is planning to build a metro system in Dushanbe together with our Korean partners to reduce the CO2 emissions by the Dushanbe city. Number 6, measure number 6, implementation of Kigali. Checking. You have 1 minute. 1 minute, yes. Okay, so the selection of the high producing cattle. So we have a lot of cattle high producing the aids and the means of improving the wood plantations and forest plantation and protection. Next, very short time, national mechanism of repairing for the specialist we used before for BTR, for the ministry, the responsibility of every ministry, of every agency. So here we will use the structure we have to use also for developing NDC 3.0. And the last slide we have here, Neila, please. Yes, the problem and challenges we have when realizing NDC 3.0, same, limited resources, lack of financial technological resources, because for NDC 2.0, we have $1 billion provided for NDC 2.0, difficult economic situation, considering the economic development, global networks, improving the potential. We need to improve the potential, not for Hydrometeo, but other ministries, and ensuring the transparency. Thank you for your attention. If I managed, you managed, you are great. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you for Kefir for a great presentation. Really, colleagues, we are very limited in time, very short on time. So please, if you have any questions related to Hirus, please use the chat option we have created for the questions and answers. And Kefirus, I will translate the questions in Russian if I get some questions in other languages. Also, you can ask Diana. Thank you, colleagues. I am giving the word to Slajana Bundalo to continue our sessions NDC 3.0 and use of the transparency practices here. Please, you have the word.
Thank you, Nailia. In the following session, we will have opportunity to hear experiences from countries of Eurasia about the embedding of the transparency in the NDC 3.0. And I'm very pleased to welcome Ms. Dragana Radulovic. She is head of the Climate Change Mitigation Division within the Ministry of Environmental Protection of Republic of Serbia. And Ms. Jovana Drobnjak, she is a CIBIT and JEF Enabling Activities Manager from Montenegro. Thank you both for your time and willingness to share your experience at this webinar. Since I understand that both of your countries are either finalizing or have finalized and submitted their NDC 3, could you please share more about the development of your NDC 3 and its relation to the transparency? So the first speaker, Dragana, welcome, thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Slajana, for introducing me and giving me the opportunity to present our activities. I have only one slide, so I'm well aware that we are at the end of today's meeting, and I will really take not take too much of your time just to present you the state of play in Serbia when it comes to our NDC 3 and what we have done so far briefly, and to touch upon also the institutional system and policy system, etc. So to provide a little bit of a context, the Republic of Serbia is an Eastern European country, and we are a member. We are a candidate country to the EU. So also we are party to the Paris Agreement, and these two processes basically dictate the evolution and the development of our climate legislation system in Serbia. As a developing country, we rely, let's say, on the Global Environmental Facility to support our activity in preparation of reports and NDC. And currently, we are developing our. We are implementing our project to develop our first BTR and our second BTR combined with the fourth national communication, and this is a process that is supported, as I mentioned, by the GEF. Now, under this project, we have already developed our first BTR. We submitted it on the last day of last year. We updated it in the beginning of January, and I'm very proud to say that we have also submitted all of the relevant tables and as well as the national inventory document last year as well. What is important to notice is that we have a first draft of the third generation of our NDC also prepared as one of the activities under this project, and I will get more. I will provide more information on that just a bit on the process of the development of the NDC. We were looking forward to submitting it by the deadline. However, maybe this will be postponed a little bit due to several, let's say, events or current context in which we are as a country. So we are now in the process of examining the BTR that we, the NDC3 that we received from our experts. And this is important to note that we rely heavily on outsourced expertise. We are still developing our reports and everything else on a project basis, and this is something that we need to, let's say, we need to position ourselves away from if we are going in the direction of the European Union and a developed country once we are member state. And so we are now
сейчас мы анализируем.
Sorry, I have a interruption with the
Прошу прощения, что тут какие-то помехи на русском языке.
I hear the Russian translator in my headpiece.
Это слышно русский перевод.
To switch the channel for the interpretation, so
надо переключить канал перевода.
Please.
I think that should be. I think it should be okay now.
Yeah, okay. I apologize. So, however, as I mentioned, now the second BTR and the fourth national communication are on the way, and they are being currently prepared. Now, this NDC3 will build upon what was provided or what was written in the NDC, in our updated NDC. Now we call it NDC 2.0, and this is the NDC 3.0. The thing is, as I mentioned in the beginning, as an EU candidate country and as a party to the Paris Agreement, we have two sets of reporting obligations which overlap, and in a way they overlap, and we have a specific set of obligations that we need to implement in our country to be formally aligned with the environmental and climate legislation of the European Union as a part of the preparation. Now, our public policy system in the field of climate change is based on the law on climate change, which was adopted in 2021. And based on this law, the National Low Carbon Development Strategy and National, Climate Change Adaptation Program are two key documents which were developed and which served together with a third one called the Integrated National Energy and Climate Plan, which is a document that is a sort of, let's say, an action plan to our strategy, but developed by another ministry. These three documents together present the basis for our updated NDC 2.0, which we submitted in 2021. And this NDC has a GHG economy-wide target without the LULUCF sector, and the target is reduction of GHG emissions by 33.3% by 2030 compared to 1990 levels. This NDC was also developed, let's say, with the support of a project, a JET-funded project, and it was actually the CBIP project, which we are now waiting for the extension of. So we applied to JEF for the second financing also, or the continuation of this project, considering that the establishment of the transparency framework in the Republic of Serbia has started, and it needs to be continued, considering the involvement of the obligations toward the Paris Agreement and the preparation of the entire MRV framework that will support the enhanced transparency framework in Serbia. We, as the Ministry of Environmental Protection, we are the UNFCCC focal point, and institutionally we are the main responsible institution for the preparation of the NDC. We are coordinating this process. We have formed a working group that is involved in the preparation activities and from the start to the end of the project. And the law on climate change and the secondary legislation is the one that basically sets up this system so that we have a basis for collection of data necessary for the preparation of the GHG inventory, which is the basis of our MRV system when it comes to the GHG emissions. And also we are preparing the next set of secondary legislation, which will then, let's say, set a basis for our system for policies and measures and projections. As I mentioned, we do not have a national system for projections. This is a quite complex task to be undertaken by a developing country, as we have learned with taking different modeling approaches for the development of different documents. For example, the low carbon development strategy and the integrated national energy and climate plan used different modeling tools during their preparation. And once they were, let's say, finalized, they needed to be aligned in a way. And this is what we used for the preparation of our second NDC. The policies and measures which were embedded in the integrated national and energy and climate plan were used as a, let's say, mitigation pathway for the NDC 3, and they were presented in the BTR. So there is this continuation.
Just a second, just one more minute. Sorry for interruption.
Of course, I'm almost finished. So there is a continuation for this process to continue from the BTR and ahead in the next reports and the next NDC. However, there are a lot of institutional steps which are needed to be taken, especially for us, very challenging as we are a developing country. We have a very small team. We rely heavily on the outsourced expertise, and to build national capacities sustainably remains quite a challenge. But, you know, there are assistances. So this is the end of my short presentation. Hopefully, we will be looking at our NDC3 from the UNFCCC website. So thank you all.
Thank you, Dragana. Thank you very much. And I'm very glad to hear that you are already preparing, actually finalizing your NDC3. Just to note, to remind you all that you can put your questions for Dragana for Serbia team in the chat box. And I would like to welcome our next speaker, representative of the Montenegro, Mrs. Jovana Drobnjak. Welcome, and she will introduce us shortly on the experiences of the Montenegro. Jovana, welcome, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Warm welcome to all colleagues from Montenegro. I need to apologize for myself because I'm very sick with a very strong virus, so there is no presentation, but I want to use this opportunity to share our achievements and our experience regarding to the NDC and BTR as well. Well, Montenegro has been actively working on the preparation of our NDC3 by ensuring coherence with the existing policies, including the National Energy and Climate Plan and aligning with the EU climate legislation. The process is supported by UNDP Climate Promise and the Country Office, and we are so happy to share that this document was adopted with our government last Friday after several rounds of consultation that were organized with the key national stakeholder, including the Ministry of Ecology, Environmental Agency, Ministry of Energy, and etc. Significant focus regarding to the new NDC has been placed on the methodological improvements, data transparency, and alignment with the IPCC guidelines to ensure accurate projection and inventory updates. The update NDC is set to increase our ambition with the one new addition. We this time incorporate the LULUCF sector and enhance the sectoral mitigation actions. Also, there was one additional good news is that also our first BTR and fourth national communication were adopted with the government also last week. So we are now waiting for the official submission of the both document to the convention. Shall I go on?
Yes. Yes,
okay,
yes.
thanks. So how we use our BTR, we have that opportunity to have these same two processes in the country regarding to the NDC and the BTR as well. Collaborated closely with both teams who are preparing these very important documents. Like I said, the NDC was led by the UNDP country office, but the preparation of the communication and BTR was under NIM modality, and the Ministry of Ecology is leading this process. So we use BTR one key tool to identify and addressing data gaps in the national inventory. BTR facilitated improvements in consistency, accuracy, and transparency following the guidelines and the ETF. Additionally, we do some methodological refinements to align with the EU LULUCF regulation and to do some recalculation that we need for the previous inventories so we can improve the completeness and comparability of reported data. Maybe the main point where we cross our paths was the use, like Hime said, of the NDC tracking in the new projection that we prepare for the NDC. So basically, in the BTR, we do our NDC tracking, which was the basis for the new with the new NDC, but also we use the same data and calculation for the projection for the both documents. In that way, having the same path with the same idea that a state is submitting to the convention and to the all international market. So basically, these two processes are really helping the country to do not just to prepare documentations, but also to find where are data gaps, where are inconsistencies in earlier inventories in the earlier reportings, and to streamline reporting with our national MRV system. So what are the news for the new NDC? We set the target up to 55% reduction by 2030, which is compared to the 1990 level was 35%, and aiming to go up to 60% reduction until 2035. This is a substantial improvement our previous target. And this NDC new NDC incorporate additional mitigation measures who are aligned with the EU climate promise, including participation in EU emission trading system, decarbonization of the industry, expansion of renewable energy, and improved energy efficiency measure. So we really rely on our institutional framework for the climate reporting and policy implementation. Like I told you, the Ministry of Ecology, Sustainable Development and North Region Development leads the preparation of the fourth national communication and BTR, but also leads the NDC preparation while the Environmental Agency is responsible for the inventory. by our law for the climate change. The Institute of Hydrometeorology and Seismology provides the climate data and they are in charge for the adaptation, while the statistical office, the Monstat, supports the data verification. But also institutional structure also include additional ministries and administrations from the sector of energy, agriculture, transport, and all about the National Council for Sustainable Development, which ensure cross-sectoral coordination. We have feeling that the country has strengthening our MRV system and improve data collection through our funded project and projects, reinforcing transparency and accuracy in reporting.
Okay, thank you. I just
so
wanted to say that you have 1 more minute. Thank you, Jovana, very much. Especially thank you for joining us in not of your best shape, and I really wish you to recover fast and feel better soon. So thank you very much, and sorry for we made this last country's presentation a bit shorter just due to time shortage. And now I just would like to ask my colleague Freya to introduce the next speakers to hear more about opportunities for support in developing of the NDC. Freya, over to you.
Thanks so much, Snježana, and yes, thank you to everyone who's presented so far today. I know we're obviously coming kind of to the end of the allotted time for the webinar, so we are going to be running a bit over, but hopefully we can get through this last session today before the Mentimeter and the close up. So in this closing out session, we're going to have the privilege of hearing from a few of the different key agencies. So that's the NDC Partnership, ICAD, and then the UNDP's Climate Promise, all of which are, as I'm sure many of you are already aware of on this call, are playing a vital role in supporting countries in a range of different projects. But today we wanted them to be able to talk about the support that they can be providing as it relates to the development of your NDCs and other kind of transparency documents across the network. So I know there's a few different speakers here today. So I thought I would first start off with Susanna from UNDP and for you to talk about the work that UNDP Climate Promise is doing. So you have around 5 minutes, Susanna. I hope that's enough time.
Thank you, Freya, and hello, colleagues. I'm really happy to be with all of you today, and like listening this country's presentation, I really feel satisfied and in a way proud because and I would really like to commend the efforts of the countries because I think behind this is great work of countries primarily and their expertise, and then support provided by various agencies and financial support mainly from the GEF NDC Partnership and many others. So it's really so good to be here. I do have a presentation. I will share it in a minute, and I hope you can see it on the screen. As we do not have too much time, I will just focus basically on linkages between the transparency and NDC and what UNDP is specifically doing in the sense of enhancing transparency framework in the countries, and also how UNDP supports NDC development. These couple of initial slides I can skip. I would just want to emphasize this momentum and the words of UN Secretary General, who said that the world cannot afford delays in decisions and half measures, and it is exactly current moment when we are all jointly working on the NDC 3.0, so that this NDC cycle is really a great opportunity for all countries to plan their development and to basically channel all the forces into one direction, and that is to combat the climate change. enhanced transparency framework, I would say, plays really a critical role in strengthening those processes. We already saw from very specific and concrete examples how it works on the ground, and I'm really happy to see that this is really invaluable effort from all sides. UN system is actually supporting all those processes through the Climate Promise initiative. This was an initiative which started with the UNDP promising the world several years ago that we will support very much countries in their effort in fighting global challenges, and especially climate change and related crisis. And then it was really expanded into a UN supported system. So Climate Promise in this form was basically announced last year with the main goal to support developing countries to align their third generation NDC with the overall goal of 1.50 target, and of course making it inclusive and investable. How transparency fits within the Climate Promise, as I said, it really plays very much a critical role in all those three directions of the Climate Promise, which are ambition, acceleration, and inclusivity. I would just stress that the quality reporting through BTR is something that really helps better understanding the gaps and opportunities for scaling up and enhancing NDCs in all countries. We could see already that it works on the ground, and that's really something that we should all continue working forward. The essence of the NDCs is actually the data, I would say, or the basis for planning development in any of the countries is actually robust data and transparency system. And this is something that can scale up implementation of NDC actions and accelerate further all processes. And for everything, I would say, all development, inclusivity is something that UN system cherishes a lot, and we think that it is really essential to successful transparency and reporting process. UNDP role in Climate Promise, I would say, is quite prominent, as this all started with the UNDP support to countries in developing and enhancing NDCs. I will not elaborate much on this. I just put here the website of the Climate Promise, where you can also link to transparency. And I will just focus in next two slides on specific support that UNDP is providing to the countries and what has been done in the recent period in the last couple of years. So with the financial support of the GEF, UNDP supports countries in accessing GEF resources within the enabling activities and capacity building initiative for transparency. Up to now, or by December 2024, there are 25 countries which submitted their BTRs out of 36 which are GEF approved. So we are still working with several countries, and they will be submitting their BTRs in the forthcoming period. And in addition to that, there are 8 countries which submitted BTRs with our technical support. The first part relates to, like, I would say, the full circle, like from accessing the funds to implementation and overall submission. This reporting towards UNFCCC, I would say, is in a way given process, and it's clear what has to be done. But the importance of the whole process is actually that we can recognize what are the gaps and needs of the countries in this whole process. And it's exactly a capacity building initiative for transparency that can support or help overcome those needs and barriers. And UNDP works closely with more than 37 countries in implementing capacity building initiatives for transparency projects, and they refer to various sections, be it improvement of legislation framework, institutional arrangements, technical capacities of the staff, digital solutions. So there are many different areas because, as we all know, we have a different starting position, but we are all striving to reach the same goal in the future. A separate part of the Climate Promise Initiative is also technical assistance that with Belgium support we provide to countries, and up to now there was a huge number of people who passed through all those trainings. And the technical assistance was provided to many of them. We do this closely with the CIBIT GSP program with UNFCCC and PAPA. For the time being, this is limited to mainly Francophone and Lusophone countries. However, we did receive some ad hoc requests from other regions as well, and we are a small team, but dedicated, I would say. So we really try to satisfy all the requests and needs of the countries. When it comes to this technical assistance, you can see on this slide various topics which are addressed, starting from NDC tracking, overall enhanced transparency framework, support needed and received, adaptation, ETF reporting tools, GHG inventory. So many topics are covered. And of course, this very much depends on the specific country needs. When it comes to NDC, I already explained how those processes are very much interlinked, be it through the robust data or raising capacities of the institutions so that they are able to go a step further, basically in development of NDC and enhancing NDC. So having in mind that this is much broader now UN initiative and UN support system, UN country teams basically develop an offer which is presented to the government, including the efforts of all UN agencies. And we have up to now, because numbers are changing and increasing, I would say daily, we have this offer presented to 55 countries. 15 of those countries are in Arabic region, and I'm sure that definitely many of you present at this webinar benefit out of that. We do have already 27 UN government work plans completed for 27 countries. Eight of those countries are in Arabic region. And I would like also to share with you that there is also this line of direct support that UNDP is doing, and that's something that we did in the past and we continue now, and we already have 12 countries which received UNDP support for NDC 3 submission. As I said, this is something that we will continue along those lines, will continue in the future as well, and we look forward working with all other agencies, especially with the countries, to come to the same goal and fight jointly climate change. I will stop here. You have our contacts, so whenever you need something, please feel to contact any of our team members, and we would be really happy to respond.
Thank you so much, Susanna. I think that was a really great presentation. So now I'm just going to hand over to our colleague Oleg, who's going to be talking about the work he's doing with ICAP. So Oleg, the floor is yours. I think I see you. Ah, perfect. I can see you now.
And can you hear me?
Yeah. More importantly, we can hear you. Yeah.
Great. And can you see my slides?
Yeah, we can see your slides now. So yeah, you have around 5 or so minutes, so go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And good afternoon to all the participants. I'm really glad to be invited to this event to speak about the role of transparency in the preparation of NDC updates. That's something that we also discuss internally in ICAT, and how to, use the work that we have been doing for many years in preparing countries to report under the Article 13, how all these outcomes and capacity that have been built could be used for NDC updates. And yeah, so that's a sort of, our internal brainstorming, because we also see some questions from the countries, like, please explain us the links between the BTR and NDC. And to me, it's quite challenging, because it's like you try to compare apples to oranges. These are completely two different animals. And what's important to emphasize that NDC is the national climate policy, or is the summary of the family of climate policies in the country, and it's also the international commitment of the country under the Paris Agreement, whereas the BTR is a regular reporting on implementing those national strategies and policies. So the link is in the elements of the BTR that could help to prepare the NDC, and I try to summarize those that seems to be most important, at least from my view, how the work that been done by countries in preparing the BTR could be used this year to prepare the meaningful NDC update. So first of all, the evaluation of NDC implementation so far is the probably the most important section of the BTR that should be used for NDC update, because without knowing what's been implemented and what's been delayed, the NDC update cannot be meaningful, and the ownership will still be missing. Then the next element of the BTR that fall under the flexibility arrangements. So some countries skipped it for this first BTR submission, but I assume that many of them would elaborate it for the second BTR. But it's important to build on the NDC implementation this year, to build the projections of GHG emissions and removals in accordance with the NPG requirements. So that would give the holistic picture to the government of where the country could be in terms of emissions by 2030, and then to adjust the NDC targets accordingly, and also look for additional measures that would consider it as ambition raised. But then how would you assess or adjust the GHG projections? With that, the assessment of the policies, impact, and measures could help, and also link to the impact of policies on sustainable development goals, because if the climate change in general embedded in the national development policies, then it has much better chances to be implemented, because it would pursue not only the climate change agenda, but the national development agenda. And the last but not least, probably a very important piece, is the means of implementation, which is climate finance in this case. And what we call it climate finance transparency. It's basically the frameworks that could help countries to understand how much funds been allocated through the national budget, how much funds been attracted through international climate finance mechanisms, and what is still needed and what is still missing, what is the gap in climate finance. For that, the climate finance transparency framework would help. And that is very much what we map as elements of our support, and the activities that countries pursued last year, and what they are supposed to do this year when preparing the NDC update. And we decided internally that we would continue basically what we have been doing so far, helping countries to set up the MRV frameworks for different purposes, but we would prioritize support to the countries to prepare their NDC update. And with that, we would really put more emphasis on preparing the frameworks for GHG projections, emissions and removals. We will continue with the assessment of impact of national climate policies, not only for mitigation impact, but also on impact on sustainable development goals. Then we would offer, and we are offering to the countries the expanding the scope of assessment of their transitioning plans to consider what would mean for each and every country as a just transition. And for that, we're offering the guide on how to set up the MRE framework for just transition. And then we recently released the guide on climate finance transparency. That's we offer to the countries as a standalone project to set up the framework to tracking the climate finance in the country, both domestic and international climate finance. And what is probably another important point to highlight that so far what I noticed in some of the countries that some processes are still not connected, and that is leading to discrepancy in the assessments of the NDC implementation. For example, the NDC was prepared using some modeling environment like LEAP, or in some countries it was TIMES. Then the mitigation impact of measures was done using some ad hoc methodologies, using some spreadsheets that were based on the previous CDM projects. And these two do not speak to each other properly. And then what government would report as implementation of NDC would be embedded in national inventories. So that is the third dimension of tracking NDC implementation. And what's important is to set up the NDC tracking framework that would align all the methodologies and all the reporting frameworks to remove all discrepancies and inconsistencies. So that is sometimes missing because countries try to address issues one by one, and the holistic view is not so prominent yet, but it will come very soon.
Hi, sorry, I'd like just to note, you have around a minute left, sorry.
Thank you for reminding me. So what we offer to the countries, first of all, the direct country support through the projects. You can reach out to ICAT and we can discuss how to set up the project for a country. Then there is a ICAT toolbox that is available to any countries, regardless whether you're receiving support from us or not. And here is just a very short list of what could be useful to prepare the NDC update. And here is the more comprehensive overview of what we offer as ICAT guides and tools. All of this is available online. It's available for use for free, as I said, regardless of whether it's a part of ICAT project or not. You can scan the QR code and it would bring you to the ICAT Toolbox webpage, where you can go through all the available guides, tools, and guidelines and select what you're interested in. Thank you. I will stop here, and
Thank you.
Continuing to support countries.
Thank you so much, Oleg. That was great. And of course, everyone, we will be sharing the slides with all the information. That the different presenters have shared from the partnership. So just to close out this session, we have our final speaker, Dio from NDC Partnership. So Dio, I'm handing the floor over to you now.
Hi, thanks, Freya. It's good to see friends and colleagues in this call as well. this webinar. So let me start by introducing the NDC partnership a bit for those who may not be familiar with us yet. So as you may know, the NDC partnership is a global coalition that were established back in 2016, whose primary mandate is really to support developing countries to be able to deliver on their ambitious climate action, and also under the Paris Agreement, also as well to achieve sustainable development goals. So we are a coalition that's composed of both developed and developing member countries, and also development partners such as UNEP, UNDP, and also ICAT through UNOPS. So one of the more recent service offerings that we have is called the Global Call on NDC and LTLEDs, which was launched back in Q4 in 2022. It's aimed at supporting countries that are planning to enhance their NDC and also develop the LTLEDs, and of course, align these two together. And one of the areas that we have been supporting through this global call is on the development of MRV systems. So far we have supported around 33 countries, and of course support from the NDC partnership are always coming from or implemented by our member development partners. So as you can see here on your screen, these are some of the requests that we have received and have responded to that are related to transparency. This includes request from Kazakhstan on enhancing transparency in reporting, and as well in Cambodia to enhance transparency, accountability, and implementation of their updated NDC goals. In Kyrgyzstan, they would like to go at the subnational level to ensure that there's also capacities and means to measure the contributions or inputs that are coming from the subnational level towards their NDC preparation. And in Laos, there's a capacity building and climate modeling, GHG projection, and as well as transparency reporting procedure. We've also facilitated support in Tonga through Triple GI, funded by the Partnership Action Fund, in the development of reporting accountability mechanisms that is in line with ETF, as well as in Tajikistan, where the monitoring and evaluation framework to track progress towards NDC goals is still currently seeking support, as well as the one that has been circulated, a request from Bhutan that's been circulated recently, which is on the training on NDC, NAP, LTLEDs, gender social assessments, as well as BTR and communications. We have as well from MENA and Iraq and Morocco, who are still seeking support from partners. Both are related on MRV system preparation, development, and preparation of a national GHG inventory system. So apart from technical assistance requests, we also organize knowledge and learning convenings. So back in 2024, we organized together with the Singaporean government, UNFCCC Secretariat, and USAPA, a hands-on training workshop on the transitioning to ETF, including the preparation of BTRs. And we were able to get participants from across around 21 countries across Asia, including the Pacific, and also, if I recall correctly, from the Caucasus. We also have tools and knowledge products that are all available online, and we can see a list of them. I won't be going through them one by one, but as a coalition, we do not prepare or develop these knowledge products. The preparation and development of all these knowledge products, as you can see there, are led by our member development partners such as UNFCCC, FAO, GIZ through their PATPA project, ICAT through UNOPS, and CCAP through UNEP. Apart from, this is another knowledge product, which is what we call the NDC 3.0 Navigator, which you can visit if you scan that QR code or type in that URL on your web browser. So practically, this is an interactive tool that supports countries in navigating towards the NDCs that they are envisioning. In essence, it provides several options for countries that would like to take. Some of them, well, half of them are related to ensuring that they are aligned or reflecting the outcomes of the first global stocktake, which means that as much as possible, they are contributing to the global goal of global temperature goal, as well as a global goal on adaptation, and ensuring that there is just and equitable transition. The other part of the navigator looks more towards ensuring that, and not that it's not just that we're having an ambitious NDC, countries are preparing an ambitious NDC, but they are implementable as well. And this includes, amongst others, ensuring that they're able to identify the needs that sorry, not identify, but also articulate very clearly the needs that they have, so they would be able to implement both the conditional and unconditional targets, and that they are also putting in, what do you call this, provisions related to unlocking finance, ensuring that there's a whole government, whole society approach when they are preparing the NDC 3.0, and of course, developing sound and transparent documents that are complementary to the NDC that they are preparing. So very specific to that particular route, that particular option are those that you can see on screen, which are different opportunities for countries to take in terms of enhancing the transparency mechanisms within the NDC, which is ensuring, putting in quantified targets and actions, enhancing integration of data across the government, making sure that it's not just systematic, but consistent, from subnational to national, but across the different sectoral agents as well. And of course,
sorry, dear, just to say you just have a minute or so left.
Yeah, there's the last, coming on the last slide. Perfect. So of course, replicability, if it's done systematically, and practically the things that previous colleagues have already outlined. But let me just focus maybe on this last slide in terms of how we are articulating the importance of BTRs and supporting the preparation of NDCs. So beyond the accountability mechanisms, we have to also understand, well, while LTS and NDCs are ex-ante documents, they are forward-looking, consisting of both projections, strategies. BTRs are ex-post. They're backwards-looking. So when taken together, they really provide you a holistic picture of climate action planning in the country. And BTRs serve as a bridge between commitments of the government and action, ensuring that NDCs are not just promises, but it's actually something that's measurable and trackable in terms of the efforts that's being put towards the country's climate goals. But more specifically, we see BTRs as a critical, a critical part of the ecosystem in the NDC preparation and implementation, because they enhance the technical capacity of the government to build necessary data collection, analytical skills, and that hopefully would serve as a solid basis of the future national communications, as well as the NDC preparation that they have. And in fact, many of the countries that I've seen that are able to submit their NDCs, or at least at the very ready to submit or have started the NDC preparation very early, are also the ones that have received or has undertaken a project of technical assistance related to MRV or BTR's preparation. Another aspect of this is that since BTR is a bottom-up approach, it really provides a granular insight into the specific sectoral activities and the technology penetration of different priorities that require this particular intervention. And last but not the least, it allows a BTR development process, provides clear policy impact. That means you're able to measure whether you are able to actually hit the targets that you have put there in your NDC, or you will be putting there in your NDC. And as a result, especially for unconditional measures, governments can plan more efficient resource allocation, as they are able to identify priority areas that have for mitigation investment that has clear impact, not just in terms of reaching their climate goal, but also towards their socioeconomic sustainable development. And this allows, of course, the development of more robust NDC and commitments that are well aligned with national, subnational, and sectoral development plans. Thanks. That's it.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Dio. And yeah, just to reiterate to everyone that all the information from the different colleagues presenting from the different agencies will all be sent to you. So you'll be able to have ample access to everything. And of course, I'm sure my colleagues will reiterate in saying that you have their emails, and if you have any direct questions or information that you want from any of them, to reach out to them directly from these emails as well. So I know that we've ran a little bit over time today, but we are just moving on just to the Mentimeter. So I'll hand back over to my colleague Sljana, and thank you again, Oleg, Susanna, and Dio for presenting.
Thank you, Freya. I'll be very, very short. So I'll share the Menti presentation, but for your information, you have a link within the chat box, so you can use the link, or you can use also just to present. Can you see the presentation?
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Yeah, you can just type menti.com in your Google search. So and type this code 7726362, or you can use QR code also. I'll keep instructions few seconds just for you to catch up the link. So then I will move to the questions. So menti.com 777-26362. So the first question, from where have you been joining us today? So there are many countries, three different regions: Morocco, Kyrgyzstan, Rabat, Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much for your answers. Uzbekistan, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Next question is, will your country be able to submit its NDC3 in the first half of the 2025? So 6 of you answered yes, 2 not. Some countries are still, not sure, or their representatives are not sure about that. So we wish you all the best with that, and also all our support in finalizing your NDC and raising the national and the global ambition. So 9 participants stated that they will submit their NDCs in the first half of the 2025. Then the next question is, has your BTR process helped improve and finalize your NDC 3.0? Yes, to the high extent. The most of you answered that. So yes, for some, to the limited extent, and not. Some countries, of course, still do not prepare their NDCs, and I really hope that with this information, insight, and shared experience that we had and learned today, they will have a good base to incorporate and to align this NDC process with the transparency in the reporting. The next question: what transparency elements and practices you are going to embed in your NDC3? So for now, 6 responses, and you say GAG inventory and NDC tracking chapters, also NAP progress, great. Then adaptation, NDC tracking and mitigation actions tracking. Fine-tune targets, someone says. GAG inventory, again, projections, NDC tracking. TAC principles, AR5, IPCC 2006, and update the target and development quantitative indicators that reflect a provision in the previous indicators. Okay, thank you. The next question: do you agree or disagree with these statements? Like, this webinar content was good and timely. the speakers of the webinar were able to answer of my questions. And the last statement was like, now I understand linkages between transparency and NDC. I see your scores. Thank you very much. I'm glad that see that the content that you've heard was good, and that you are increased your knowledge and understanding of linkages between transparency and NDC. As of the questions, for any remained questions in the chat box, we will open the forum at our climate transparency platform, so you can then find the answer to your questions there. Or for any question, you can approach to us directly or to any of our speakers today. Of course, we all will be more than happy to answer and to guide you to these processes. And the last question, the overall, how satisfied are you with this webinar? Thank you. Most of you are very satisfied. Thank you very much. And thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for your experience sharing, for information sharing, for guidance, for the agencies working together with us. As I said already, we are very eager to support you, to help you, and hopefully we'll see you all at our next session. I would stop here. If any of colleagues would like to add something, please, or we can finalize. Okay, thank you all, and have a great day. Hopefully see you soon. Goodbye to everyone.
Goodbye,
Thank you,
Svetlana.
everyone.
Goodbye,
Thank
colleagues.
you. Bye.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
До свидания.